This is the Tech Phantom, and welcome to episode 21 of this Dark Souls Easy Mode walkthrough. And in this episode, we are going to finish out the game, and we are also going to complete our build. We are going to get one last sorcery that is going to sort of even out our build. We are also going to make a bow, and I'll talk about that in a little bit, guys. But this is going to be essentially a boss rush. We are going to take on Kalameet, then we're going to take on Manus, and then we're going to try to take on Wind Lord of Cinder with nothing but dark magic. So, first of all, let me do a clarification or a correction. In the previous video, I said that you could not make an enchanted bow. And obviously that is wrong because what I'm going to be doing in this video, what I'm doing right now on screen, is actually making an enchanted bow. I was thinking of shields, guys. I don't know uh, what I was thinking about when I said you could not make an enchanted bow in the last video. Obviously, you can make an enchanted bow, and I'm making an enchanted bow right here. Now, the reason why you would want to make an enchanted weapon as opposed to a magic weapon is that when you have a build with high intelligence, enchanted weapons will actually scale better than magic weapons. So, since we went through the trouble of getting the blue titanite slab in the last video, I thought it would be fun to make an enchanted weapon. And I've decided to make an enchanted bow because it turns out that the bow is very complementary to this build. Again, similar to the Moonlight Greatsword and similar to the spells that we have, it gives us an ability to take at our enemies from distance. And since our endurance and since our vitality it's has not have not been the focus on this build, and you don't want to get into a melee fight exchanging blows with your enemies, it turns out that the bow is an excellent way to conserve your sorceries but to still be able to take enemies out at a distance. So I'm going to show you a little bit of farming these humanity sprites with the bow. And obviously, if you wear the gold covetous ring, you can get humanity from these guys at a fairly high rate. And if you wanted to farm humanity to fill up your stock of humanity, that's probably the easiest way to do it. All right, so let's get on with the rest of the episode. So the first thing we're gonna do in this video, guys, is we are going to take on Kalameet. So this is going to be round two of our attempt to take on Kalameet. If you remember a couple of videos ago when we tried to take on Kalameet, we were having problems effectively dodging and blocking at the same time. And the issue was that our endurance was not high enough, our vitality was not high enough. We would be stunned, and then Kalameet would finish us off with his dark magic. So we just did not have enough stamina to be able to dodge and block effectively. And again, in Dark Souls, anything that you do is going to consume stamina. So blocking will consume stamina, and running and dodging will consume stamina. So we just did not have enough. So we're going to go in there. This time, this is going to be round two, and we are going to see if we can take revenge on Kalameet. And this time, we are going to use every single buff that is available to us, other than the red tearstone ring. I want to have a full life bar, but we're going to cast Power Within, and after we've cast Power Within, we are going to remove the White Seance ring, and we're going to put on the Bellowing Dragon Crest ring, which is going to increase our sorceries by 20%. And that, along with the Tin Crystallization Catalyst that has higher magical adjust and the Crown of Dusk and Power Within, that's going to multiply the output of our sorcerers. And you could see that after a couple of hits, Kalameet is almost halfway down, and I just have to block him a couple of times. So this looks like it's going to be a much easier fight than the first time around. And one more hit, and that is all she wrote, guys. That was the Kalameet boss fight with this easy mode build. And he's going to give us the Calamity Ring. And there's also a Titanite slab behind this waterfall, so I'm very quickly going to go grab it. And we are back in Elysial Township. So let's level up a little bit. And we're going to continue to level up our endurance, so that we're able to block and dodge more if we so desire. And I'm choosing to level up my endurance as opposed to my vitality because again, it's gonna give us the ability to block more with our shield, and it's also gonna give us the ability to wear more protective equipment and armor. Okay, so we are in the Royal Woods, and we are going to take on Manus. Now, for Manus, he does both physical damage with his swipes and with his stomps, with either with one hand or two hands. But he also does a lot of damage with his dark magic attacks. He has 3 of them, and you can use the silver pendant to deflect his dark magic attacks. But I've actually I'm not going to use the silver pendant, and as a matter of fact, I've never used the silver pendant on fights with Manus. Not even the very first time I took him on, and that's because I actually think it's easier to use to evade 2 of his 3 dark magic attacks, and the one attack where he surrounds you with sort of like a version of dark beat. I actually find it easier to use the Crest Shield to block that, because of the Crest Shield has high magic resistance, high magic defense. And here you see a little demonstration of the Enchanted Bow, and again, it's a very complementary weapon because we're conserving our spells, we're not using up our spells, but we're able to very safely take out these enemies from a distance. Now I am using moonlight arrows, which are pretty expensive. They cost 500 souls a piece, so I actually had to farm 100,000 souls to buy about 200 moonlight arrows. And you saw that I've used up about about 60 or 70 of those arrows. And I farmed every single humanity down here when I was doing a little bit of testing. Okay, so the Enchanted Bow has done its job, so we are going to go into the Manus boss fight, and we are going to use exactly exactly the same strategy that we used with Kalameet. So after we cast Power Within, we're going to remove the White Sands ring and replace it with the Bellowing Dragon Crest ring. So again, we're loaded for bear, and we're absolutely at our max output for magic damage. So the strategy for Manus is going to be to evade a couple of his attacks, and while he's recovering, we're going to fire Soul Spear at him, and we will see how quickly we can take him out. So there, we're gonna dodge that attack. We were unable to block or dodge that attack, but you can see that Soul Spear does a fair amount of damage on him. So we're gonna dodge and shoot Soul Spear at him. And for this attack, we simply break lock and we use the Crest Shield. And I healed at the wrong time there. I actually didn't need to heal that time, but that's okay. This fight's almost over. It looks like one more hit is going to do it. And I'm going to back away and heal here. Dodge one last time, or block one last time. And that's it, guys. That is the Manus boss fight with this easy mode build. So you saw that we absolutely had no problems whatsoever with Manus. As a matter of fact, that boss fight only took 30 or 40 seconds. And we got 10 humanity and about 60,000 souls. So we're going to get our endurance up to 30. That's a nice round even number. And we are going to actually go to Firelink Shrine through the magic of editing. And there's one boss fight left, and that is Wind, the Lord of Cinder. But before we do that, we do want to get one last spell, because we're going to try to use that spell against against Wind, the Lord of Cinder. So there's a couple of things you can do with the Soul of Manus. You can go to Anor Londo and you can give it to the giant blacksmith, and he will turn it into the Manus Catalyst. And the Manus Catalyst is similar to the Tin Crystallization Catalyst. It will cut the number of sorceries you can cast in half, but it has pretty high magic adjust. It's actually not as high as the Tin Crystallization Catalyst. However, the Manus Catalyst scales with strength. So if you pump up your strength, it turns out that the Manus Catalyst is the best catalyst for casting dark magic. So it's not as good as the Tin Crystallization Catalyst for casting regular magic, but if you have high intelligence and a decent amount of strength, you will be able to do incredibly strong dark magic sorceries. So the other thing you can do with the Soul of Manus is to trade it with Sparkly, and in exchange he will give you a dark sorcery. So let's do that.
You give me warm, give me soft.
So we're going to drop the Soul of Manus in the nest. I guess I did have the silver pendant, guys. I saw it on my inventory. So we did get the silver pendant in this playthrough, but I chose not to use it. You guys are welcome to use it. Okay, so in exchange for the Soul of Manus, we have received Pursuers. And Pursuers is the dark magic version of Homing Crystal Soul Mass. However, it's better than that. It's a little bit slower, but it will actually pursue you. It's more persistent and more aggressive. It will pursue the target over a very long time. And if you look in YouTube, there is a trick where you can use the silver pendant to sort of blow the beads from Pursuer high up, and that'll make it much more difficult for your enemy to dodge the orbs as they're coming towards him. So there's a couple of tricks, very inventive things that some Dark Souls players have figured out how to do with Pursuers in PvP. So now we have the full complement of spells for our build. We have Pursuers and we have Darkbeat, and that's what we're going to use to take on Wind, the Lord of Cinder. Now if you're wondering how I got so many souls, you see that I'm almost close to 1,000,000 souls here. I actually went and joined the Alvina's Covenant, the Hunters, the Forest Hunters Covenant, and I did some PvP. So that's how I ended up with a million, almost a million souls, and with 8 humanity. And in the next episode, I'll be showing you guys PvP with this character, and I'll be doing a mailbag, responding to some of the comments that we've had throughout the series. Alright, so we are making our way through the Kiln of the First Flame, and there's the gauntlet of Black Knights that we have to defeat. And by the way, if you don't have the Black Knight shield, this is where you can get it. You can farm these knights until they drop the Black Knight shield. Now you're really not going to need it for this fight. As a matter of fact, you can probably do this fight without a shield. But I like to go in there with I like to go into this fight with the shield because of the high fire resistance. So there's a couple of Black Knights left. And I'm just gonna parry this guy. Hopefully by now, guys, if you're following along, you've improved a little bit, or you've gotten a little bit better, and you're able to evade better, and you're able to parry better. And that's going to make melee an option for you in future iterations of the game, especially now that you have the Great Light Moon Sword. And this guy, I'm just going to backstab and finish him off with that awesome projectile attack. Now that does consume eat up some durability from your weapon. So since I've used it up a couple of times, I'm going to repair the Moonlight Greatsword with some repair powder. I'm not going to use it for the upcoming boss fight, but just it's a good habit to get into to repair the Moonlight Greatsword periodically. All right, so here's the Wind Lord of Cinder boss fight. So I got Pursuers ready, and you saw that it took half his life, and then I'm just gonna finish him off with Dark Beat, and that is all she wrote, guys. So that was what, 10-15 seconds. That was an unbelievably quick boss fight. So Wind is sensitive or vulnerable to magic, but it looks like he is really vulnerable to dark magic. And we had absolutely no problems whatsoever taking him out. We didn't even use Power Within. So let me show you my final stats here. And I guess after I defeated Wind, that put me over the 1 million mark. And now the last thing that there is left is to select the ending. You can either sacrifice yourself and link the flame, or you can walk out and become the next ruler of this world. And again, if you want to know from a lore standpoint what the endings mean, check out my lore walkthrough where I go into detail on on both endings and their implications to the lore. Alright guys, well that's going to do it for this walkthrough. I'm just going to let the credits roll. My final thoughts on this easy mode build is that it turns out that if you are persistent and if you continue to build on your intelligence and you pump it up as high as possible, along with a decent amount of attunement, you really don't need a lot of endurance and you don't need a lot of vitality. That this high intelligence mode is going to have so much firepower that is going to help you get through the game. So I encourage you guys to try this kind of a build, mix it up a little bit. If you want to do a little bit of melee, you can make an elemental weapon. We made the Lightning Gargoyle's Halberd. So go ahead and experiment with this build. I think you'll have a lot of fun with it. I know that I did. And the other neat thing about this build is that it's very viable in PvP. And that's what I'm going to show you in the next video. As a matter of fact, this particular build for me is now at about NG. I'm at NG4 or NG5, and I'm still doing PvP, and my character level is in the 200s, and there's just been a lot of fun and some amazing PvP with this build. So if you are hesitant about doing PvP, if you've never done PvP before, this is a very good way to get into PvP, at least until you get familiar with a little bit of melee and a little bit of blocking and parrying that you need to do in PvP. So that's gonna do it for this episode, guys. I hope you've enjoyed it. This is the Tech Phantom signing off.